The Yamaha MT07 has crossed your mind whether you're a new rider looking to pick the perfect first bike or an experienced rider who wants the perfect balance between fun and value for money. But have you thoroughly compared it with all the other bikes in the segment on aspects like performance, equipment, value for money, and longevity of use? MT07's oldest competitor has been the Suzuki SV650. The Kawasaki Z650 is also a worthy competitor, and I figured that the CB500F is a tad bit small, nevertheless a much loved motorcycle across the world for its ease of riding and Honda reliability. And before I throw in some Euro bikes in the mix for the discerning connoisseurs of premium motorcycles, here's how the big four Japanese manufacturers stack up in the street naked motorcycle space. The MT07's 689cc inline twin cross-plane 2 or CP2 engine makes 72 horsepower and 50 foot-pounds of torque. SV650 makes the same power with its legendary 645cc V-twin engine, but the torque is a close second at 64 Newton meters, and the internet seems to suggest that the top speed is also a close second at 130 miles per hour, even though it's 30 pounds heavier than the MT. That's a 14 kilo difference in weight and only 5 kilometers an hour difference in claimed top speed. Z650's 645cc parallel twin is generally perceived to be a bit unremarkable, but it can keep up with the top speed claims of the other two. Honda's only twin-cylinder middleweight naked bike, the CB500F, is at a little bit of a disadvantage in this area, but what it lacks in power and speed it makes up for in terms of ease of riding because of its well-balanced weight distribution. The Yamaha and the Suzuki have 6-speed manual transmission, but the Kawasaki and the Honda get assist flipper clutch on top. It does sweeten the value proposition of the two, though seasoned riders would tell you that you will not necessarily miss it on the MT and the SV until you start aggressively downshifting going into a corner at a track day or canyon carving. On the flip side, the MT and the SV will teach you good throttle and clutch manners. Hopping on would be the easiest on the SV with its 30.9-inch seat height, same as the Honda CB500F. None of these bikes are exceptionally tall for most people, but if you are under 5 feet tall, you could consider a thinner seat as an easy solution for lowering links if that doesn't quite cut it. And when it comes to suspension and tires, don't pay attention to the reviewers nitpicking on the suspension, because any experienced rider who has ridden bigger, better bikes with fully adjustable suspension in high performance scenarios will find several things to change depending on which bike they pick and how well set up it turns out to be for them, which is almost never. The MT07 suspension has been improved from its previous versions. SV650 has decent suspension and it's actually known for a really stiff frame, which makes it a favorite among track day riders that rave about it. Not to mention its versatility and infinite mods and parts availability, especially in the US. What I will say about the tires though is that the Michelin Road 5s on the Yamaha and the Honda are my personal favorite for the grip and the confidence they provide across different riding conditions. The Dunlop Sport Max 2s on the Z650 tend to last longer, but not my favorite if one decides to push the boundaries of performance. If you notice, the MT07 is the only one among these four with a 180 rear tire, which is confidence inspiring once you're in a corner. But the 160s and the rest of them would make them easy to turn into the corner in the first place. All the bikes have ABS options. The MT07 and the SV650 have dual discs with 4-piston calipers from Advix and Tokiko respectively, and better stopping power than the Kawasaki Z650, which gets Nissan 2-piston calipers. The 2021 Honda CB500F is the only one in this comparison with a single disc brake up front, but Honda chose to upgrade those on the 2022 model with dual discs and Nissan 4-piston calipers, in addition to suspension upgrade. So far, the US doesn't get the 2022 model, possibly because the UK and Australian markets with their A2 and LAMS restrictions make them quite popular there and have sufficient sales volumes to justify the upgrade. Unfortunately, India doesn't get the CB500F, but it does get the CB500X for touring that I compared in the Adventure Touring comparison video a few months ago. And talking of touring, Honda CB500X would take you the farthest on one tank, so more bang for the buck. In fact, having ridden multiple Honda bikes over the past 14 years, I have realized that while in some countries Hondas may be slightly more expensive to buy, they do make up for it with low cost of maintenance. In this case, however, the Honda is the cheapest, obviously because of the smaller engine. And before I share the prices for all of these bikes across UK, US, Australia and India, it's fair to compare the rider age. The Yamaha MT07 only gets ABS and so does the Honda CB500F. The Suzuki SV650 gets a very practical low RPM assist that avoids stalling when you want to start rolling from a complete stop. I love this feature especially for new riders who tend to take a while to figure out the clutch friction zone. Even for experienced riders, it will save you the embarrassment when you're not paying attention at a stoplight. Kawasaki has extended the Rideology app feature to the Z650 among other bikes on its lineup. The app can record riding statistics and also give you navigation and phone connectivity on the 4.3 TFT dash. So no need for phone mounts on the Z650. And since we're talking rider aids, this is the perfect segue to bring the Euro bikes into the comparison, go beyond 2 cylinders and throw in some extra cash. Triumph Trident 660 seems to have delivered the unthinkable value proposition, delivering an inline triple engine that makes more power, possibly higher top speed, doesn't weigh significantly more than a twin-cylinder competition, and has almost top-of-the-line rider aids in the category. Assist slipper clutch, steel-braided brake lines, ABS, optional quickshifter, color TFT display, 2 rider modes, switchable traction control, optional tire pressure monitoring system, and a multimedia module that handles your calls, navigation, and even a GoPro. And it's available in A2 and LAMS variants in the UK and Australia. The price tag? Marginally higher than the twin-cylinder friends. And in India, it has made Honda look very bad because it's being pitted against the CB650R, which I'm gonna cover in a minute. The only naked middleweight bike that beats the Trident 660 in being premium is the Aprilia Tuono660, which has an absurd price tag for the segment. But then there's gonna be people who value the justification of the price in the premium fit and finish and mind-boggling specs which are gonna make me run out of breath, but I'll give it a shot. 659cc parallel twin engine that puts out 95 horsepower, 50 foot-pounds of torque, 140 miles per hour top speed, feather light, 183 kgs curb weight, unprecedented electronics in the category, switchable ABS and traction control with multiple levels, 5 riding modes, wheelie control, a full TFT dash, optional quick shifter, and a 6-axis IMU. Previous trick, however, doesn't seem to be working any wonders because there are very few takers for the price tag, even though it is indeed a hoot to ride and will get a lot of heads turning with its looks and sound, which I will compare for all bikes once I'm done talking about all of them. And that cannot be done without talking about the only inline 4 in the middleweight naked category that most people know about, the CB650R, which in my opinion is not a beginner bike, but I know that Honda's smooth and linear power delivery doesn't push you to do silly things. So if you think that you can be a sensible rider, any of these bikes could be a good first bike. The Honda makes similar power as the Aprilia, but it does weigh a little more. Its cost of ownership is far more reasonable though. It does come with a decent suspension, good tires, ABS and switchable traction control. Now the good thing, it will take a lot before you feel like you're growing out of it. So if you're in the UK or Australia, you could get the restricted version and grow into it and then keep it forever. In the US and India and everywhere else, the CB650R is a bit of a hard sell now because of the price comparison with the Trident 660, but I can tell you from personal experience with that engine that it's the most reliable, fun and sufficiently powerful engine for street riding. For those of you who would rather do silly things, the MT07 could be a better choice, but here's a curveball I'm gonna throw at you. In North America, Europe and Australia, you could still find a used KTM Duke 690, which technically is a middleweight naked with a 690cc single-cylinder, 72 horsepower, 54 foot-pounds of torque monster of an engine on a lightweight 148 kilos body. That's 327 pounds. If I remember correctly, that's less than the 2013 CB250R I used to ride back in the day. A buddy of mine has a Duke 690 and I cannot wait to get my hands on it and rip it around my local motorcycle track. They used to cost in the neighborhood of $8,000 brand new, and now you could still find used ones for a little less. And just when you thought that I was done listing all the middleweight naked bikes that existed, here's another one. The Benelli TNT600i. It is absolutely not a beginner bike because of its power delivery. I test rode it for the first time in 2017 and found that its 599cc inline 4 engine that made 67 horsepower and 37 foot-pounds of torque rode worse than my 150cc Bajaj Pulsar if you kept it under 6000 RPM, but suddenly wanted to wheelie like a maniac as the revs went above 6000. That power curve was never designed for the street, but the sound that it made was a head turner for sure. It is still sold new in Australia, where Benelli seems to be doing rather well. Benelli does have a presence in the UK, but the TNT600 or BN600 would probably be available as pre-owned. In the US, Benelli's partner SSR Motorsports are based in California and listed for $6,000 brand new. After sales support, however, would be a bit of a problem until they build a bigger service network around here. In India, Benelli does have a better network than most places, but the cost of service in general is a bit high. The bike was designed in Italy by Benelli, but it is made in China. That being said, I never came across major reliability issues from Benelli owners when I rode with them during my India motorcycle riding days. I only remember them for the inline 4 Symphony that was almost orgasmic. You know what? It's time for a motorcycle music concert. And now that you know what each motorcycle has to offer, here's a comparative view of the prices of all the bikes across US, UK, Australia and India. If you appreciate the work that went into making this video, please hit the like button and share the video with your friends. That will help me out grow this channel. To watch a middleweight retro nakeds comparison, click this video. For upcoming motorcycle comparisons in the series, subscribe to the channel. This is for us, helping the rider community one video at a time.